Hey everybody, this is Bonnie Barker with Bonnie Bay Crochet, and I'm real excited today to share with you something very special, near and dear to my heart, using 100% Irish wool. This is the Celtic braided stole. This can be worn as a stole or as a wrap. And what's really fun about it is you can also wear it as a super scarf, and you can adjust the length to as short or as long as you would like it, depending on how many repeats you do of the pattern that I'm about to share with you. Okay, well, let me go ahead and show you what you're going to need. For this project, I'm going to be using the new yarn from Universal Yarn called Yarn Vibes. This is called Cliffs of Moher. And let's look at the content. This is 60% Irish wool, 40% virgin wool, and 164 yards per hank that you see here, or 150 meters per 100 ounces. And the number of hanks that I will be using for this project will be right across the bottom of your screen. I'm also recommending that you have a size J or 10 or 6.00 millimeter crochet hook, or the hook that yields the fabric that you enjoy. I can say that freely because this is not as gauge specific as a fitted item would be. And I also recommend that you have a yarn needle and a pair of sharp scissors handy. To begin, we are going to start with our slip knot and a starting chain of 58 chains. Now we're going to start row 1, and that's going to begin in the third chain from the hook. So we're going to count 1, 2, 3, and we're going to work a double crochet there, and in each chain all the way across. There we go. So go ahead and work that, and once you complete that, you should have a total of 56 double crochets, and I'm not including the chain 2 at the beginning of this round in that stitch count. So now that we've completed row 1 with our 56 double crochets, we're going to turn and we're going to work row 2. We're going to start with the chain 2, and we're going to be working the ribbing at this point. And if you've never worked the ribbing, don't fear, this is not really hard at all. Instead of working into the top loops, we're going to work our hook around the body like it's giving the stitch a belt. We're going to skip the first stitch, and we're going to work a front post, which again, working that hook around the body to give it a belt. Pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. You just complete the double crochet as you normally would. The next stitch is going to be a back post double crochet. We wrap the hook for a double crochet, but instead we're going to bring the hook around from the back side around the stitch, and we go out the back door there, pull up a loop, and we complete that double crochet. And we're going to work that all the way across. Front post double crochet followed by a back post double crochet. And as we work the next few rows, we want to be sure that when we work on the following rows, that when we work on the front post, we work front post, and when we see a back post, we're going to work back post to keep the ribbing lined up nice and evenly. So go ahead and work those front post and back post double crochets all the way across the row, and I will show you how the row ends. After working this all the way across the row, we're going to end by working a front post double crochet in that last stitch, and then a half double crochet worked into that turning chain. Just go into the entire turning chain, not into a single strand. Okay, so let's take a look at this beautiful ribbing. Okay, so now we're going to work row 3 which again is going to be ribbing. We start with a chain 2, but we're going to start the opposite of what we did. Like I said before, we want to keep the front post, working front post over the front post and back post over the back post. So in order to do that, the odd number rows are going to start with a back post double crochet and then a front post double crochet. And so we're going to work this all the way across the row. And again, I will show you how this row ends. Row 3 ends by working a back post double crochet and then a half double crochet worked in the turning chain. And let's go ahead and turn and take a look at what we have after 3 rows. Now, what we're going to do for rows 4 through 7, that's 4 additional rows, we're going to repeat rows 2 and 3 2 more times. So I'll go ahead and start you off on row 4, which again is a repeat of row number 2, and that begins by skipping that first stitch and working a front post double crochet and then a back post double crochet. When you begin the row that follows this, you will start with a back post double crochet. Just whatever you need to do to keep the front post, and the back post lined up as back post, and these rows will all end with a half double crochet worked in the turning chain. So go ahead and work rows 4 through 7. This is what you should have after completing those 7 rows of the ribbing stitch. Now we're ready to work the pattern stitch that we'll be working for most of this design. We're going to chain 2, we're going to skip that first stitch, and we're going to work a single crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet in that next stitch. And working this 3-stitch combination is what I like to call the wattle stitch. Then we're going to skip the next 2 stitches. We're going to work a wattle stitch, which again is the single crochet, chain 1, double crochet in that next stitch, and then skip 2 stitches. Now we're going to skip 2 more stitches because we're going to work the 4-post cable. Okay, so again, just to be clear, we've worked our last wattle stitch here, and again, skip 2 stitches for the wattle stitch and the next 2 stitches that will be used in the 4-stitch or the 4-post cable. We're going to prepare our hook for a front post treble crochet, work a front post treble in the next 2 stitches, working in front of those last 2 stitches. We're going to front post treble in this stitch, which are the last 2 stitches that we skipped, this stitch, and then we'll work one in this stitch, which is kind of hidden back here, but it is the one we're going to use. So we start with this one, and then the next stitch, which is right here, which was one of those back post stitches, and the first crossing of that cable looks like that. Okay, now we're going to, in the next stitch, now be careful, this stitch was worked, but it's easy to mistake this as the next stitch. It is not. The next stitch is right here. We're going to work another wattle stitch, and we're going to work 2 more of these as well. Skip 2 stitches, a wattle stitch, which is that single crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and that next stitch, skip 2 stitches, and do it one more time. So we should have a total of 1, 2, 3 wattle stitches and skipping 2 stitches after that. Now we are going to work the foundation for that large braided cable, and we're going to start in the third stitch. So we're skipping these two for the wattle stitches, and then we're going to start here, and we're going to work front post double crochets. We're going to work 5 of those. Okay, let's stop to make sure we have 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, we do. And then we're going to work a half double crochet worked into the top loops in that next stitch. And these half double crochets worked in this manner is going to help give this large cable more stitch definition, and you'll see how that looks as we work several rows. You'll understand that better. So we're going to do this again. 1 front post double crochet in the next 5 stitches. Stop to make sure that we have the correct number, and then a half double crochet in that next stitch, being careful that you're working 1 stitch in each of the stitches. And then we'll do that again, 5 front post double crochets. Okay, let's pause to look at this foundation. So notice that we have 5 front post double crochets, 1 half double crochet here, 5 front post doubles, a half double crochet, and then again 5 front post doubles. The half double crochets are only in between these large columns that we're making, so you only should have 2 of those as we set this cable up. So after that, we are going to work 3 more wattle stitches starting in that next stitch. That's 1, skip 2 stitches, 2, skip 2 stitches, and 3, skip 2 stitches, and then we're going to skip 2 more stitches as we work another 4 post cable. So go ahead and wrap your hook for a front post treble in each of those next 2 stitches. Working in front of these 2 stitches, we're going to front post treble in the 2 stitches that we skipped, and again it's the last 2 stitches. Remember, we skipped these 2 for the wattle stitch. It's the last 2 stitches that are closest for the making of this 4 post cable. After that, we're going to work 2 more wattle stitches starting in that next stitch. Skip 2, and then we skip the last 2 stitches, and in the turning chain we're going to work a half double crochet just like that. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we have. All right, so now we're ready to go on to row number 9. Row 9 starts with the chain 2. We're going to skip the first stitch, which is that half double crochet, and we're going to work in the chain 1 spaces only of these wattle stitches. So we're, again, just to be clear, for the first time we do this, we're skipping the half double, we're skipping the double crochet, which is part of the wattle stitch, and only working in this chain 1 space. We're going to work a single crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet. And then we're going to go on to the next wattle stitch, which includes skipping this single crochet and the double crochet. And then in that chain 1 space, we work a single crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet. And we're going to, again, skip the single crochet. All of that detail is not going to be included specifically each time because it's just a mouthful. All you need to remember when working the wattle stitches, we work in the chain one spaces only. That's the important information there. Now working with the back side facing of the 4-post cable, we're just going to work 4 back post double crochets. So this is the smaller stitch, the back post double. And make sure that you work that over all 4 stitches, just across as the stitches appear. There's no crossing or anything like that going on with these at this point. And then we get to 3 more wattle stitches, and again working only in that chain one space, we work an additional wattle stitch. I really like using this in a lot of my designs because it kind of recesses to the back and it helps those cables to really stand out, helping them to be featured a bit more. And plus I just really like the way this fabric looks when crocheted like this, and it is reversible fabric. Okay, now working along that large cable, we are simply going to work back post double crochets. I'm making sure I start with the correct one. There we go. We're going to work 5 back post double crochets. This is over those post stitches that were worked in the previous row. Let's make sure I have the correct number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, and that is in the right place. When we get to the half double crochets, we work a half double, just worked into the top loops. Again, that also helps. It's really going to help this cable to pop. All right, then 5 more back post double crochets. Followed by another half double crochet worked into the top loops, and then 5 more back post double crochets. Okay. After that, we are back to working in the wattle stitch, and we find where that chain one space is, and we work our wattle stitches there. There will be 3 of them. So that's 1, 2, and again in that chain one space, 3. And we come to the back of the 4-post cable again, and we just work back post double crochets over each of those stitches. That leaves us with 2 more wattle stitches worked in that chain one space. Yes, I am repeating myself a lot, particularly for those who may have never seen these stitches before. And okay, there we go, in the next chain one space. And then in the chain 2 space, we're going to work a half double crochet. So let's go ahead and turn to see the front side to see how this looks. And you can see the beginnings or the foundation of this braided cable. Now for row number 10, this is the row where we begin crossing that large braided cable. We're going to chain 2, and we're going to work wattle stitches in those first 2 chain 1 spaces. So after those 2 wattle stitches, we come to the 4-post cable. We skip the next 2 stitches, and we work front post trebles in the next 2 stitches. We only use the trebles on these stitches when we are crossing the cables. Working in front of those 2 stitches, we're going to front post treble crochet in the 2 post stitches that we skipped. And then we work in those 3 chain 1 spaces, we work those wattle stitches. I promise you I'm not going to work all of these with you throughout. I'm just showing you how this begins, but once we get down a few more rows, I'm going to just mainly be focusing on this large cable that we're coming to right now. So I completed those 3 wattle stitches. After working those wattle stitches, we are going to skip the next 5 stitches. These are the 5 post stitches, and we're going to work a half double crochet in the top of this half double. And you can work that a little bit loosely. It doesn't have to be real tight. And now we're going to work 5 front post trebles over each of these 5 post stitches. So make sure this is the larger stitch, the front post treble. After working those 5 stitches plus that half double, we're going to work 5 front post trebles in each of these stitches, starting with the one on the that's furthest away and ending with the one that is closest. And it's going to feel like you're reaching halfway across the room to do this. You'll get used to it after a while, but it is a bit awkward at first. It feels unnatural because it's not real close, but this is what helps to make the beauty of this really large braid. So I want to make sure that I have 5, because if I don't, I will regret it when I begin the next row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I do. Okay, after we do that, we're going to work another half double crochet in the next half double crochet. After we do that, we have 5 more front post trebles right here. Okay, so let's pause and take a look at that. So I know this doesn't look like much. It probably looks all wrong, but it's not. This is what you should have for row 10. And then we just finish out. Let me just go ahead and I'm going to work these 3 wattle stitches. I'm going to complete this 4 post cable in the same way, 2 front post treble crochets, and then working in front of those, front post treble crochet in these 2 stitches, just like I worked back here. And then I'm going to work 2 wattle stitches and a half double crochet in the turning chain. So go ahead and finish that row. This is what you should have after completing row number 10. Now for row 11, I am going to talk you through some of this. We're going to chain 2. We're going to work a wattle stitch and a wattle stitch, back post double crochet over each of these 4 stitches, and then work 3 more wattle stitches. So go ahead and work that much, and then I will show you what to do once you come to the large cable. So once we come to the large cable, this is the back side facing us. And for the record, the odd number of rows, this is number 11. All the odd number rows will have the back side facing. The even number rows will have the front side facing. If I said that right, okay, the odd number will have back side. even number front side. All right, so now we're going to work back post double crochets over the next 5 post stitches. And it's okay if you flip this back and forth just to verify that you caught the right 5 stitches. So I'm actually going to do that. So I worked 5. Let's flip it to the front side. And yes, I do have the correct 5 stitches. It's very easy to get this confused. So definitely flip back and forth and make sure that you're on the right track. Okay, the next half double crochet, go ahead and work a half double crochet in the top loops. And then the next 5 stitches are going to be those that were crossed on the front side. So of course on the back side now, we're going to work those 5 back post double crochets next. And now, since there is no half double crochet, we're going to work a half double crochet in between the last stitch and the next stitch. This is where that was crossed. There is a half double crochet that we are not working in. So that will make up the difference. If you're concerned about the stitch count does remain the same throughout this project. Okay, so now we do 5 more back post double crochets. And 5 stitches. And after those 5 stitches, we come to that half double crochet that I was just mentioning that we are going to skip. So by skipping this stitch here and adding this stitch in here in between where the cables are crossing, they cancel out, thereby keeping the math constant for you mathematicians out there who even notice that. Okay, so now we have 3 more waddle stitches. I'll go ahead and do the next one. It does seem like a large jump here, but go ahead and work that waddle stitch in that next chain 1 space, and we're going to do that in the next 2, and then again 4 back post double crochets over the next 4 stitches of that 4 post cable, waddle stitch, and a half double in the turning chain. So go ahead and finish row 11. So this is what you should have after completing 11 rows. And I hope you're enjoying this yarn. It is definitely in the rustic category. Rustic meaning not really soft, or not really soft at all, but you get an amazing stitch definition. And I promise you, this yarn will last so much longer because it's not super soft. Super soft yarns do tend to pill very quickly and not survive as long or as well as some of these more sturdier yarns. Okay, so let's go on to row number 12. I'm going to chain 2, and let me just talk you through this again. Waddle stitch in the chain 1 space, waddle stitch, front post. We're going to skip these 2 stitches, 2 front post treble, working in front of those stitches, work 2 front post trebles in these 2 skip stitches, waddle stitch in each of these 3 stitches, and then I will cover what to do for the large cable. Once we get to the large cable, we are going to work front post double crochets over each of those post stitches, and we're just going to work them straight across like we did in the last row, except we are working front post cables. You're going to want to be particularly careful that you maintain the stitch count, which is 5 stitches in each of these segments of the braid. Half double in the top loops of the half double, and again 5 more front post double crochets, and again half double in that half double, and then 5 more front post double crochets. So overall, this really is not that difficult. It's just being careful to put the stitches in the correct places. Okay, so this is how this cable should look, which doesn't look like much of a cable, I understand. We're going to be changing that as we go forward. And then to finish, wattle stitch in each of these 3 chain 1 spaces. We're going to do the crossing of the cables again. Let me go ahead and work these wattle stitches, and I will show you that cable crossing. So just to be clear, skip 2 stitches, front post treble in each of the next 2 stitches, working in front of those 2 stitches, front post treble in each of the 2 stitches that we skipped, starting with the stitch that is furthest away. And then we finish out the row with the 2 wattle stitches worked in those chain 1 spaces. And yes, I am working a bit quickly, but I'm assuming if you've made it this far to 12 rows that you understand the single crochet, chain 1, and double crochet. And in that chain 2 space, turning chain, we work a half double crochet. So again, from this point of the cable onward, every row with the front side facing will end in this way. Each row will begin the way I showed you, and you know what we do with the back side facing. The rows are all going to be the same when the way they start and the way they end. It's going to start with the chain 2. I'll go ahead and give this to you since we're going to be starting row 13 now. I want you to go ahead and start that with the chain 2, wattle stitches, 4 back post double crochets, work straight across, wattle stitch in the next 3 stitches. So that's the way that row will start, and actually every row with the back side facing, that is an odd numbered, again, row, they are the same. And when the odd number or the backside facing rows end, it's the wattle stitch again in the next 3 stitches following this large cable, back post double crochets over the next 4 stitches, wattle stitch, and a half double crochet. Just want to go ahead and say that now, because going forward, I am only going to focus on the central cable. This will save you time. This will save, yes, it will just save you a lot of time, and I think you should understand that by now. So now this is row 13. I've worked from this side to the cable, and this is where we are going to cross the cable again. And this is going to be crossing with the backside facing. Yes, I generally don't do it this way, but I think this will work best for this particular cable. We're going to skip the next 5 stitches, which are those post stitches. This is following the wattle stitch here. We're going to work a half double crochet in that next half double crochet. We're going to work 5 back post trebles in each of the next 5 stitches, and these are the ones that were crossed on top, and from the last, or at least they're going to feel like they are on the top of the other parts of this braid. So I'm going to stop to make sure that I do have the right number, and I do. Okay, now working in front of these stitches as seen from the front side, and that's a mouthful, let me say that again. So working in front of these stitches as seen from the front side. So what that means is I'm going to cross over like this, and I'm going to go back to the first of these 5 stitches that we skipped, right back here, and I'm going to start there with my first back post treble. Let me make sure I grab the loop. Let me show you where that is from this other side. Okay, so looking at it from the back side, again, it's crossing this way. It's come in and worked around this stitch. So the next stitch, let me just show you from this side. If I flip to the back side, it's right here. And for the record, I am using the nerve endings in my Tallman and Thumbkin just to help guide the hook and to know where the stitch is so I can actually locate. So that was the first stitch, second stitch. The third stitch is right here. So I can hold on to that with these 2 digits and instruct my crochet hook as to where it needs to go. And then the fourth stitch. This is probably the hardest part of this cabling. And number 5, which is right here. And you can see it better with the back side. It's right here. No, you don't have to become an acrobat to do this stitch, I promise. But it is a little bit tricky, but all you need to know is that you're going to cross in front of those stitches, and then the next thing we're going to do is the next half double crochet. Just find where that stitch is, and 5 more back post trebles. Let's try that one again since I pulled through too many stitches. Okay, let's take a look at the front of this. So now you can see that something is starting here. You can start to see the braid. Okay, of course we need several more rows before it is really clear, but you can see this starting to come in and out. Okay, and so after we do that, we're just going to finish out the row with those wattle stitches, 4 back post double crochets like I mentioned before, and finish out the row with a half double crochet in the turning chain. So now I'm working row 14. I have worked to the cable portion, and this time we just work front post double crochets over each of those post stitches, and make sure that you do work 5 of them over each of those columns, and then half double crochet in that top loop of the top loops of the half double crochet, and then again we're working just straight across 5 front post double crochets, let's keep the loops on the hook. Okay, and again where that cable was crossed, work a half double crochet in between that last stitch and next stitch. As you remember, there is a half double crochet back here that we're going to be skipping, so the stitch count does remain the same. And then 5 more front post double crochets. And there's the stitch right there that we are skipping. And let's go ahead and I'll do the wattle stitch just so that you can see how this is looking once it's anchored. So there you go. So this is going to be just a nice big and bulky fun cable. So go ahead and finish out row 14, and then begin row 15, and I will pick up where the cable is for row 15. Once we get to the cable on row 15, we are going to work back post double crochets over each of those post stitches and half double crochets in each of the half doubles. Again, just be careful that you have 5 stitches in each column and that you work in the top loops of the half double crochet. And again, 5 more. Half double in that next half double crochet, and then 5 more back post double crochets. And then that brings us back to the ending with the wattle stitches for back post, double crochets, etc., etc. You know what to do. All right, let's go ahead and just take a look at the front, and we'll see how this is looking. So go ahead and finish row 15, and then go ahead and work the beginning of row 16. Okay, now I have begun row 16, but before I show you what to do with this braid, you've already done it. Okay, so what I'm about to work on row 16 is an exact repeat of row number 10 down here when we cross the cable with the front side facing the first time. So from this point onward until you get to the point where you want to work the ending ribbing, we are going to be repeating rows 10 through 15 just like we worked already. So you can go ahead and look at the bottom of the screen. I will put a time mark so you can go back and look at row 10 should you need that for the stitching, especially for the cable. But let me just also explain before I demonstrate what I'm going to do here, which again is going to be a repeat of what was done on row 10. But you're going to repeat row 10, which is crossing the cable with the front side facing, then work rows 11 and 12, which is just using the front post or back post double crochets. And then on row 13, you're going to cross the cable again, but with the back side facing, okay? And then work rows 14 and 15, which again is just working the front post double crochets or the back post double crochets for the cabling portion. So I'll go ahead and show you how this works for row 16, which I am repeating myself, but that is also a repeat of row 10 worked down here. So we're going to skip those 5 post stitches, work a half double crochet in that next stitch, 5 front post treble crochets, and just a note, be sure that you take the time to count to make sure you have 5 of these stitches. Yes, I'm repeating myself again. Oh, isn't it great? All right, so now we're going to go all the way over here and work front post trebles in these 5 stitches. Okay. You can see those 5 stitches, and this is where we do the half double. Make sure you do a half double in between each of these columns, and 5 more front post treble crochets. Okay, so let's stop and take a look at this now. You can see this big braid developing. So again, this was row 16, which is a repeat of row 10. So go ahead and complete this row and start after that, work row 11 through 15, and then come back and work rows 10 through 15 over and over again. And I'm going to do this until I get the length that I desire, and just stay tuned, keep watching, and I will tell you how long that is and how many repeats. I'll go ahead and put the number of repeats across the bottom of the screen so that you know where I'm headed. But just keep in mind, if you want to make yours longer or shorter, you can just work more or fewer repeats. Just also keep in mind that we have a few inches here to add at the bottom, so calculate that in if you are going to be doing a different size. Okay, I have come to the point where I need to start my ribbing again, and I'll go ahead and put the measurement of what I have right across the bottom. Now let me just say about that sizing, you can make as many or as few repeats as you want on these rows 10 through 15. For the record book, I have repeated rows 10 through 15 a total of 25 times, and then I repeated rows 10 and 11 once more. And this is considerably long, and so right now what we're going to do is we're going to return to the ribbing. After completing that last repeat of row 11, you should have the front side facing. Now for this return to the ribbing stitch row, we're going to chain 2. We are going to skip the first stitch, and we're going to skip the next stitch too, which is that double crochet, and we're going to work 2 double crochets in the chain 1 space and 1 in the single crochet. So essentially turning any wattle stitch in this row into 3 double crochets. Again, skip the next double crochet of the wattle stitch, 2 double crochets in that chain 1 space, and 1 worked in the single crochet. Now when you get to the post stitches, we're going to work front post double crochets. So remember, there are 4 of those for the 4 post cable. And then we return back to the wattle stitches, and we do the same thing that we did earlier. We skip that double crochet, work 2 double crochets in the chain 1 space and 1 in the single crochet. So we'll do that 2 more times. Just like that. And let's do it once again. Two double crochets in that chain 1 space and 1 in that single crochet. Okay, now we are working over the cable. And so what we're going to do for this is we're going to work front post double crochets in each of those post stitches. And when we get to the half double crochets, we're going to work a half double crochet again in that space. Now on the following rows, when we begin the ribbing, we are going to treat the half double crochets the same as we would a double crochet as far as doing the front and back post. So again, front post double crochet over each of those next 5 post stitches. And a half double crochet in that half double, and then 5 more of those front post double crochets. and then we finish off the other side just like we did before, skipping that first double crochet, 2 double crochets in that chain 1 space and 1 in that single crochet. And let's just talk through the rest. We're going to do the same here, and again 4 front post double crochets. We're going to work 2 double crochets and then 1 in that single, 2 and then 1, and in the turning chain work a half double crochet to finish out the row. So go ahead and finish that row that converts this to the ribbing. So now we're going to chain 2, and for the last 6 rows we're going to work the ribbing pretty much the same as we did for the first, except with one exception. Since we have the back side facing us as we begin, we're going to start by skipping that first stitch, and we're going to start with a back post double crochet. I just think that it's a small change, but I think this will make the ribbing look the same as the other end. After that, we work a front post double crochet, and we're going to alternate back post and front post double crochets all the way across the row. At the end of this row, we're going to work a half double crochet worked into the turning chain, just like that. Turn, chain 2, and again skip that first stitch, and we start with a front post double crochet and end with a back post double crochets along these rows. So these will have 1 stitch fewer than the ribbing at the very beginning. And so go ahead and continue work rows 3 through 7, and then after that finish off or fasten off and hide all your loose ends. Well, I hope you enjoyed making the Celtic braided stole with me today. If you did, I would love to hear from you. Please feel free to post below. God bless. Bye-bye.